Monsters. They come in all shapes and sizes, and have been used for many years in countless cultures for both entertainment and symbolism. Hulking creatures who actually have a heart of gold, and monsters whose actions are, well, monstrous. But which monsters are we okay with being under the bed, and which monsters are the stuff of nightmares? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Cartoon Monsters, Good to Evil. As usual, we'll be starting with the most heroic characters and working our way down. Some monsters might appear frightening, but to use a phrase, looks can be deceiving. These monsters' actions outshine their appearance. These monsters are the good. The gold medal of good goes to Blinky from Troll Hunters. While Blinky, Arg, and the other Troll Market citizens were skeptical of Jim Lake, taking the title of Troll Hunter since he's human, Blinky quickly warms up to Jim. Blinky uses his vast knowledge not only to help Jim in his training, but is also accepting of other humans that enter his world, such as Toby and Claire. Sure, when it comes to fighting enemy forces, Blinky does not exactly shine on the battlefield, but this is a minor issue.
Goodbye, Dictatious!
Plus, when it comes to facing dangerous enemies like Morgana or Gunmar, Blinky never backs down and is willing to do whatever he can to help others in their fight against such powerful enemies. After Vendel is murdered by Queen Azuma, Blinky takes on the additional duties of becoming the new Elder of Troll Market and handles his responsibilities well, showing how deeply he cares for his fellow trolls. When it comes to his brother Dictatious and changelings like Stricklander, Blinky can be harsh, but when we take into account what they've done, it's an understandable response. Blinky has proven to be a capable leader, great teacher, and most importantly, is accepting and caring of others, and his gold medal is more than deserved. Next is arguably the cutest interpretation of a legendary monster. Nessie from the Ballad of Nessie is getting the silver medal of good. At first, Nessie is content on being left alone with the rubber ducky in the Scottish Highlands. After she's kicked out of her home, Nessie tries multiple times to find a new place to live, only to fail each time, and is told to keep a stiff upper lip and repress her emotions. When Nessie finally comes to her breaking point, her tears eventually create Loch Ness, which becomes her new home. However, Nessie does not really help anyone else during her story, and we do wish she would stand up for herself more. But Nessie also creates a beautiful landmark, and as she both learns and teaches a very valuable life lesson, we feel comfortable placing her here. Now only if we can give her a hug. For the bronze medal, we have the duo from Monsters Inc., Mike and Sully. At first, they have careers of scaring kids to collect their screams to convert into power from Monstropolis, but Mike and Sully are not doing any of this with malicious intent. They take pride in being good at their jobs, but after a young girl Mike and Sully named Boo is able to get into their city, their perceptions of humans and what they're doing to them change a bit. Yeah, Mike and Sully find an easy way of getting rid of the child at first, but the more time they spend with Boo, Mike and Sully genuinely want nothing more to return Boo to her home and make sure she's safe. Plus, after seeing what lengths that their boss is willing to go to ensure that his company will not go belly up, Mike and Sully are able to destroy the machine Waternoose and Randall were going to use to get more screams. After Mike and Sully are able to return Boo home, and Sully is appointed the new CEO of Monsters Inc., and shifts the company's direction so they collect laughter from kids instead, we can comfortably say that they have a bright future, not only for themselves, but for the other employees of Monsters Inc. and children worldwide. Next is Shrek from the Shrek franchise. At first, Shrek is content in being left alone, and when it comes to helping Lord Farquaad, he's only doing it to get his swamp back after the other fairy tale characters invade it. After he meets Fiona, Shrek is able to allow himself to lower his guard, and not only finds love with the princess, but forms a really good friendship with Donkey and others. Shrek butts heads with other decent characters, such as Puss in Boots and Arthur, but he's willing to go way beyond the call of duty to help others, such as saving Fiona from her would-be wedding to Lord Farquaad and going on a journey to find the next king after his father-in-law passes away. In addition to helping others, Shrek is a pretty accepting guy, as he's able to befriend Puss in Boots and Dragon after they both tried to kill him. Compared to how he was at the start of the first movie, Shrek has made huge progress and is one of the kindest monsters on our list, even if he has his moments. Next is the most optimistic and helpful resident of Madame Foster's house, Wilt from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Unlike some of the other residents, Wilt is fully accepting of anyone who walks in through the house's doors and does his best to connect with them. When it comes to his interactions, Wilt is more often than not the voice of reason, and he cares about his friends. Wilt can be a doormat, as he's constantly apologizing for no reason and allows others, such as Blue or Duchess, to walk all over him. There are some cases when push comes to shove that Wilt does stand up for himself, such as the episode Room with a Feud. Why Wilt does have this attitude, though, is kind of understandable, as he felt like he let down his original child, Jordan Michael, and now tries to please everyone. And yeah, that is a completely unattainable goal to do all the time. Wilt's heart is in the right place. We do wish that Wilt was more assertive, but if being usually passive is the worst thing about him, we can't place Wilt any lower. The term "always a bridesmaid, never a bride" is sadly applicable for Emily from Corpse Bride. When it comes to zombies, Emily is actually one of the nicest people of the living dead. After Victor accidentally places his wedding ring on her finger, Emily takes this as a sign he wishes to marry her and takes him to the underworld. This does not kill Victor, and Emily only does this in order to be with her new husband. And while Emily does have a tragic past of being tricked by Lord Barkis to rob and kill her after suggesting they get married, Emily does not let this affect her from being a friendly and helpful person. She's a little possessive when it comes to Victor, and doesn't listen when he tries to explain the mistake, which brings her down a bit. However, after Emily and Victor return to the land of the living to be actually married, as Victor has to die to properly become Emily's husband by drinking the wine of ages, Emily realizes how she was taking Victor away from his living bride-to-be, Victoria. Emily is able to save Victor and Victoria from Lord Barkis before allowing them to be together before departing for the afterlife. We wish that Emily would have been more willing to listen, to understand where Victor was coming from, but Emily is obviously a good person at heart, and her kind action speaks volumes. Next is Oblina from Ah Real Monsters. Like we said, when it comes to the students at the Monster Academy, there's no better student better than Oblina. And while she does take her status of being top of the class seriously and tends to bicker with Ickis on a regular basis, Oblina deeply cares for her fellow monsters. During her trips to the outside world, Oblina, along with Crumb and Ickis, has helped numerous people, such as scaring off the bully of some kids and helping capture a thief. Unlike Mike and Sully from earlier, Oblina enjoys the fear that she causes, with her favorite tactic being pulling out her guts for a more effective gross and/or scare factor. And while she does enjoy what she does, Oblina is not looking to cause harm. Rather, she's just following her nature and what she's been taught. That plus, Oblina is able to connect well with both humans and her fellow monsters, so you gotta give her some props, and it keeps her out of our next section. Now we're going to be descending into neutral territory. This is the gray area. When it comes to storytelling, there's no better guy, well, dead guy, than the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Much like the line of horror comics, Tales from the Crypt, from the 50s, and its subsequent series of the same name in the 80s and 90s, the Crypt Keeper loves to scare people with his stories. Unlike his other two interpretations, this Crypt Keeper is shown to be a lot more lighthearted and often uses his spooky tales as a sort of morality tale.
Quite a lesson for our anti-heroes.
But rather than get along with his fellow storytellers, the Old Witch and the Vault Keeper, the Crypt Keeper is constantly butting heads with the other two regarding which one gets to tell their stories. And he's gone to extreme lengths to prevent others from taking a spotlight, such as trapping them in a newspaper or tying them up. And while the Crypt Keeper is using the stories to send a message, he also takes enjoyment in scaring others and doesn't seem to care about the things he does to the Old Witch or the Vault Keeper, which lands him at the top of the gray area. Next is our oldest cartoon monster, Gossamer from Looney Tunes. Gossamer was first introduced in 1943 in Hair-Raising Hare. Gossamer has quite a number of appearances to his name. During his earlier cartoons, Gossamer is purely focused on capturing Bugs Bunny, either to capture him or eat him, and that's pretty bad. However, Bugs is always able to trick Gossamer pretty easily, and if we're just going to focus on Gossamer's earlier appearances, we can see why you would expect him to be much lower on this list. But it's the 2011 Looney Tunes series that keeps Gossamer from falling any lower on this list, where Gossamer is more or less a son figure to Daffy Duck. Rather than relentlessly chasing Bugs Bunny and others, this version is meek and actually a pretty kind character. While Gossamer does have a couple of flaws in this series, such as allowing Daffy to misguide him from time to time, compared to Gossamer's previous actions, this is a huge improvement. As Gossamer's intentions and characteristics have varied over the years, we're placing him right in the middle of the gray area. Rounding out the gray area, we have Monster House, aka Constance Nevercracker. Constance has had a rough life, both when she was alive and dead. When she meets her husband, Constance is one of the many unfortunate people that a circus has on a sideshow display. And while it appears that things are finally looking up for the newlywed Nevercrackers, Constance meets her premature fate after taking a fall at her house's construction site and landing in the cement of the house's foundation. And that is where her anger blossoms and takes over the newly built house into becoming the Monster House. For years, Constance hangs on to her resentment and anger, not only lashing out at others, but also keeping her husband, Horace, a prisoner within the house, allowing him very little access to the outside world. And her husband is not the only person whom Constance holds a prisoner, as she uses parts of the house to capture and eat them. And while that does not kill her victims, they're trapped in the house for an unknown amount of time. After DJ, Chowder, and Jenny, along with Horace, are able to destroy the monster house, Constance is finally able to find peace and briefly reunites with her husband before departing to the afterlife. Not being able to let go of anger and allowing it to not only consume your life, but affecting numerous others is pretty awful. But seeing how rough of a life Constance had, plus her actions were limited to just the neighborhood, she's getting a small break that keeps her out of the next category. Now we'll be looking at the monsters whose actions are the stuff of nightmares. Rather than simply scaring others, these monsters are, at best, trying to cause trouble for others, at worst, plotting world domination. These monsters are the bad to evil. Taking the top spot of this category, we have the Changeling Queen, Queen Chrysalis from My Little Pony. We gotta give Queen Chrysalis credit, as with her first appearance, she's looking to take control of Equestria. But unlike others who just straight up invade, she's first seen taking the appearance of Princess Cadance to gain power before starting her Changeling invasion. And while Queen Chrysalis eventually has her true form discovered, she's nearly successful in her goal before she's blasted out of Equestria along with her changelings. Unfortunately for Twilight and the other ponies, Queen Chrysalis is able to form a team with other villains, Cozy Glow and Lord T-Rex, to take revenge on the main six and Equestria. Like her first effort, Queen Chrysalis is pretty close to succeeding, as she, along with the others, are able to capture most of the main six and uses the Bewitching Bell to gain incredible power. During the final battle, Twilight drains Queen Chrysalis and the other villains of their power before they're imprisoned in stone for their crimes. Trying to take over a kingdom and abusing others is bad, but at least Queen Chrysalis hasn't killed loads of people, unlike our next entries. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to the evil zombie Benton Tarantella from Courage the Cowardly Dog. In a series where our favorite pink-furred dog encounters monsters and creatures, Benton Tarantella stands out as he's not only a monster, but also has a body count before his appearance. In the episode, Everyone Wants to Direct, Benton poses as an independent film director to get into Eustace and Muriel's home. And while Benton does intend on making a movie, his real intention is way more messed up, as he wants to resurrect his dead partner and to eat Muriel and to be filmed doing so. Luckily, Courage changes the script and tricks Benton and his partner into getting back into their graves and buries them. In Benton's second appearance, Angry Nasty People, his actions are not as bad as murder and cannibalism, but Benton is able to bring out the worst in Eustace to create Mr. Nasty to torment Courage and Muriel just for his TV show. Like before though, Courage is able to stop Benton, this time knocking him to some quicksand. We're glad that this seems to finish off Benton once and for all, but for all he's done, both before and after his death, his evil medal is well deserved. The Silver Medal of Evil goes to the Beast from Over the Garden Wall. It might seem strange that we're placing a character that is shrouded in mystery this low, but trust us, what we do know of the Beast is more than enough for our Silver Medal of Evil. The Beast is arguably the darkest character in the series, as he's able to manipulate the woodsman to collect oil from the Endlewood trees to fuel the lantern, by telling him that her soul resided in it, when in actuality it's the Beast's soul that the lantern houses. And while he is nearly successful by bringing Gregory to near death and encouraging the woodsman to murder him and Wirt, thankfully Wirt is able to talk sense into the woodsman and gets him to stop. After he realizes that his daughter's soul is not in the lantern after all, the woodsman finally extinguishes the lantern and ends the Beast once and for all. And yeah, Benton did kill a lot of people, but judging what we see of the numerous faces of his victims that make up the Beast's body, we feel safe to say that the Beast exceeds Benton's body count. Plus, that he willingly manipulates a man wanting nothing more than wanting to get his daughter back to kill for you. The Beast is one of the worst monsters in cartoons. The Gold Medal of Evil goes to Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Don't let Bill's cheerful and somewhat comical behavior fool you. This Mindscape demon is evil to the core. Bill manipulates arguably the smartest character in the series, Stanford Pines, into building a portal in order to allow Bill to have physical form in our world. And even before Bill does take physical form, his influence is felt throughout the series, even being able to possess Dipper at one point. After Bill is finally brought into our world, he goes to town, capturing Stanford, takes over Gravity Falls, and plans on destroying the world and recreating a new world in his image.
Let's get this over with.
Bill has no problems in torturing and killing his enemies, even children like Mabel and Dipper. Thankfully, the barrier surrounding Gravity Falls keeps Bill and his minions from wrecking the rest of the world. And for someone who manipulates and tricks others so much, it is poetic justice that Bill meets his end after being fooled to enter Stanley's mind to get the secret to get rid of the barrier, only to be trapped and killed by the memory gun. Sure, if you listen to Bill's last words in reverse, he does claim that he will come back, but here's hoping this horrifying triangle is permanently stuck in his current petrified statue state. And that does it for our morality spectrum, but let's wrap things up with handing out some center awards. We're giving the Wrath Award to Monster House, aka Constance Nevercracker. Anger is an understandable emotion, but for all the problems she caused because of it, we feel like Constance is a pretty good candidate for this award. We're also giving her the Sloth Award, that while she did cause trouble, Constance had a limited range of motion when she was stuck in her house form. The Gluttony Award is going to Benton Tarantella, as he not only wanted to eat Muriel, but also wanted to make a snuff film while he was doing it. For our Lust Award, we're giving it to Emily, as she wanted to be married to Victor for quite a bit, and while she does reach peace at the end and lets him marry Victoria, she was stubborn about it for a while. Man, we can't think of anyone who wanted to rule everything and have complete power. If only… Oh yeah, wait. Queen Chrysalis is a clear winner of the Greed Award. For the Darwin Award, it's going to Gossamer. Sure, he might have smartened up in more recent appearances, but as he was pretty easily tricked by Bugs Bunny in his first couple of cartoons, he's getting this award. And lastly, we're giving the Pride Award to Oblina, because she takes the fact that she is a top student of her class pretty seriously. Do you agree? And did we miss any other cartoon monsters? Let us know in the comments if you agree with our ranking. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss new episodes of Good to Evil. But most importantly, stay wicked.